Well, good morning, Rhonda. Thank you so much for calling and visiting with Living the Gourmet. Oh, this is a real pleasure. Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you for having me.
Oh, this is wonderful. Well, I'd like to introduce you to my audience. I'm speaking with Ronda Nelson, and you're an entrepreneur, and you're here to talk about your debut book, A Different Life. And that's about your life on the road with your husband, Wayne Nelson, of the Little River Band. And I just want to tell you, I'm a fan of the Little River Band.
Oh, wonderful.
Oh, I listened to that and back, in high school years and after, and it was very, very fun.
Well, the music brings back a lot of memories for a lot of people. It's a lot of fun to be out on the road and to see, to listen to the fans talk about what the memories or how the songs take them back. And we've heard some wonderful stories, that's for sure.
Well, I can tell you, when I hear the songs, it does. There's nothing that, brings you back like music or food. When you walk in.
Absolutely. Well, I've said many times, the two universal languages of the world really are music and food because everybody understands and can relate to both of them. So.
Well, for sure, I know that is the truth. If there's one way to keep a family together, it's through the memories of eating together and the food and the smells of cooking and the music that went along with the food. And I can tell you that firsthand growing up in an Italian family, that is the main thing. It's just music and food.
That's right, Sunday gravy, as my Italian friends call it, when they make a big pot of sauce and gather around the table on Sunday.
Oh, well, that's the truth. You come home and the first thing you have, is you grab a meatball out of the sauce with a piece of white bread, and there's nothing better.
Makes me want to have some now, even though it's early in the morning.
It's early in the morning, and I would love to hear you tell us about your book. And the title, A Different Life, is very apropos because you did lead, well, we all in our own way lead a different life from what we think we're going to lead. But I'm sure you did in many ways. And would you like to expand on that?
Sure. So just the whole concept for the book came about really because I wanted to pull back the curtain a little bit and share what mine and Wayne's life is like, not only on the road but at home. It's really important for both of us to connect on a level with our fans that is real. I think sometimes when your name is associated with some type of celebrity status, whatever level that may or may not be, people perceive that, maybe possibly things are a little easier for you, or maybe you don't have the same to deal with, not necessarily the same problems, but, you have a lot of people, you live in a bubble, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And I really wanted people to know that, we're just like everybody else. We share the same highs, the same lows. We have tragedy that touches our lives. We have lots of wonderful moments. And by doing so, we understand and we do relate to people's stories when they share them with us. So that was the premise for the book. The fact that there's stories from the road. There's stories about things that Wayne have done over the 20 years, and there's stories about the time that I spent on the road with the band. And intertwined or interwoven in that are recipes in the book, and a lot of old family recipes, some recipes from the band. And again, that really came about because there were several stories. It was kind of funny as I was laying it all out and putting the book together that that food was a common denominator, and I thought, wow, this is a really cool concept. And so that's how the recipes ended up in there. And then the title, A Different Life, actually is a line in a Little River Band song that was put out, I think it was the early 2000s, called There's a Bus Leaving.
Yes.
And the song was written by one of the band members at the time about, exactly what it says. A bus leaving. He gets on the bus and he has to leave the love of his life behind. I was listening to it one day and, trying to figure out how, what was I going to call this book. And just as that song came on and I, just kind of in the car rolling down the street and there that line came out. You lead a different life. And I thought, wow, that is absolutely the perfect title. So that's how that all came about.
Well, it's funny how things fall into place in life. I mean, you were thinking of, what do I name this? And then it comes on, and you hear the song, and you get your answer. It's like, prophetic, really. And
Exactly. Yeah, it really was.
And I was looking at your blog, and I read that you originally were going to make it a recipe book, and then you decided, well, why don't I make it a whole, book, and then and I think that was very, very apropos, because behind the recipes is always a story, usually.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I'll give you a quick, I'll give you a quick version of one of the stories in the book, and it's a perfect example of why I chose to do this. I grew up in the South,
yes.
And red velvet cake is it's just something everyone knows. And someone said the other day, you don't go to an event in the South without there being red velvet cake. And so when I met Wayne, he grew up in the Midwest, but when I met him and we were spending time on the road together, they were playing in Tunica, and which is outside of Memphis. And he had never heard of red velvet cake, and I was like, I just don't even understand how that's possible. So we were at whatever casino they were playing at that particular time. Of course, in the buffet there was red velvet cake, and I said, you have to try this. And of course, it wasn't the same as the ones that my grandmother would always make. I'm pretty sure that one wasn't homemade, but it was his first exposure to red velvet cake. And I tell you that we were in that location because they were playing multiple nights there. We were there for a whole week, and I think he and I had red velvet cake every single night after that because he loved it so much. So that's the kind of thing that, that the stories and the food all weave together very nicely. And there are a lot of recipes books out there, and there are a lot of memoirs and tell-alls out there. I decided to put a little different spin on it.
And to make it your own. And
absolutely.
And your recipes do look very, very good. So browsing through your blog, which if people would like to learn more about you, could tell them your blog. It's rhondaraves.com, right?
Absolutely. Yep, that's it. And they can also follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Ronda B. Nelson.
Okay, and it's very real. You tell your story in a very real, down to earth, if you don't mind me using that phrase, but it's a down to earth way of speaking, and you really do become real people. You're not just celebrity, and you hear Little River Band, and you get stars in your eyes because it was so and is so popular. But you are real people, and that's the way you come across. So
yeah, I mean, I'll be the first to admit the book is not, it's not a deep, hard or
tell-all book.
Yeah, exactly. Mind-searching read. I mean, it's a very easy read because I wrote it just very casually, very, like you say, down to earth and very real because. Again, I want people to know who we really are, and so I wanted to speak on a level that would connect with people. I mean, we all read a lot of books, and we all Some of them are very deep and very intelligently written, and that's great for certain circumstances. But for me to connect, I just wanted it to be, like you say, very real and very easily received.
Well, and also how to I see that, you try to say how to transition through the stages of your life, because as women and men too, but as women, you find yourself at a different point in your life, and you say, I never thought when I was in my 20s, that at this point in my life, later on, I'd be here. And you have to learn how to transition and accept where you are in life. And I think through your book, you probably are able to, especially with the circumstances of your life, where you met celebrity band and wound up marrying. You never thought you'd be at that point in your life. So life takes you different places, and how to accept how to be in those places and make the most of it.
Yeah, it's and here's another thing that especially, I think after I turned 50, I realized, like I said, Wayne and I have been together for 20 years, and I always, in the beginning when we were younger, and I was just around the band and whatever, I always felt this pressure to, people want you to look a certain way, and people want you to be a certain way, or they have this perception of you, and for some time I kind of felt like that I needed to do that. And first of all, it's inexperience. Second of all, it's just you mature and you realize being your own person is what is, whether they know it or not, that's what people expect you to be, and that's what you owe it to yourself to be, is to be your own person. And so, and as we move forward in society, and as social media has become a big part of, unfortunately, everybody's lives for one reason or another, it's become really important for me, especially as a woman and being, over 50 now, that we stay true to ourselves, and that we love who we are, and that we don't get so caught up in comparing ourselves to all of this seemingly perfect reality that we see on social media.
Oh, I agree.
I think, did I realize all of that concept when I wrote the book and wrote it so real and wrote it so honestly? No, I didn't. But as I've gone through this process and had the book out there and, really put my thought to some of this message, I realized that's a part of it as well. I think we as women especially, men go through this to some degree, but women especially, we, I think as we get older, society tends to put us in that category of older and aging. And for me, I feel like any wrinkle that I have or gray hair that might shine through, by gosh, I've earned it, because that's experience, and I embrace it. And, so that's been a part of my message as well, just to really be your own you and love the life that you live, because we all have something incredibly fabulous in our lives, and we all have things to be thankful for.
Oh, I couldn't agree with you more. And just to embrace where we're from and who we are, and to take what life throws at us, and to be able to say, okay, I can deal with this. I'm not given more than I can handle. And in most circumstances, I think women get the short end of the stick a lot of times.
Listen, I totally agree with you. I think, I was speaking to some people the other day, and we were talking about this, and not to be hard on men, But as a man ages, it's common to hear, oh, he's so handsome, he's aged so well, he looks, you know. As a woman ages, we are driven by society and by advertising and marketing to, oh my God, we have to have something to cover that wrinkle, and we have to cover this, and we have to, you know, and I think, like you say, sometimes women get the short end of the stick on that because that age is experience. That experience is knowledge, and that's, I think it's just something that we should all embrace and not be ashamed of.
Well, I think that this book is a perfect book, and for women to maybe even give their mom or give their daughter for Mother's Day. And I just, women, when you read about other women and what they go through and how they turn this into a positive, it's very encouraging. And it's very encouraging to see, for you, with this iconic rock band, that you lived a real life. And in many ways, we all live different lives, but they're all real, and the experiences that you overcame and turned to positives. And I just think it's a great book for Mother's Day as well.
Thank you. It is, and you know, it's a fun. Here's something that's really interesting, and it relates a little bit to Mother's Day in that. So I go to the shows. I stay on the road almost the whole time with Wayne. I will, if I'm working on other projects or I have to go and do other things, obviously I do that. But over the years, I've seen families bring their children to shows. I am now, there was a point where those kids now were turning, you know, they were 18, 21, and they were coming to the shows without their parents. And then now I'm seeing those kids who are in their late 20s, early 30s bring their children to the shows, and they're bonding. It's a mother and a daughter, or a mother and a son and a father that are bonding with this music. And I think that's what's so awesome about Little River Band's music, is it's just timeless and everyone can relate to it. And so with the book, it's kind of the same way. I think everyone can relate to it. Multi-generations can, you know, there's recipes in there. There's one in there called Butterscotch Crunchies. And it's a great recipe to do with kids in a very different way. We filmed a TV segment not too long ago about it. You can make those to be, a friend of mine told me that she makes them in a muffin tin instead of just scooping them out and letting them, the butterscotch get hard. She makes them in a muffin tin like a nest egg, and for Easter she puts colored jelly beans in it like the robin's eggs. So there's things in there that is multi-generational in that book, and that can be shared. You know, mothers and daughters can always bond in a kitchen, and so I really feel like it's a wonderful tool to use for that.
For sure. I know that I did with my mom, and my daughter does with me, and even my son did when he was little. I'd put a stool and he'd stand at the edge of the counter, and
Exactly.
and I'd give him his own little bowl, and he'd mix a small batch of whatever I was making. And so yeah, you bond in a kitchen, and now my daughter is telling me what to do. You know, it's funny how roles reverse a little bit. And she'll tell me, no, Mom, I'll do this. No, I make a better dough, or I do, you know. And I said, but yeah, who taught you how to make that dough? You know.
That's right.
I like
It's funny.
your cheesy Southern grits, because I grew up in the Northeast. I never had grits until I went to Florida with my mom, back in the early 80s. And I loved them. I absolutely love them, and I saw you have some delicious recipes on your blog, as I'm sure you have in your book. So that's one that I want to try. But there is really nothing like the stories that you tell, and the recipes, and I agree, and the music, and that's what life is all about. That's what your memories are made out of.
It is. It really is. And, I think probably today more than ever, it is so important to make the time to spend time with your family and to do things as a family. It's so easy to families to go their separate ways because our lives are quite chaotic and busy. Listening to music together, gathering around the table to eat, or in the kitchen to make a meal. Those are things that are those are times that you can't
Replace.
take away from people, and those are times that you can make those times whatever you want them to be, and you can shut out the outside world and just really bond with your family. And I believe it more than, like I said, more than anything. I think it's more important maybe now today than it has been in many, many, many years, just because of
Absolutely.
the state of our world.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more, and I'm sure yourself and your husband, I think we all grew up in a different time, and it was a time where it was just a little bit more. People say, oh, the world is so connected now, but I really believe we might have been more connected then, because we don't have the human connection anymore. It's very ethereal. It's very all through pushing buttons now. But there you actually connected. You saw the face of the person. You bonded with the person, and that's what makes a person who they are. But by being there with that person and sitting down at a table, I think is the most important thing you could do with your family. To sit down, even if it's a sandwich and a cup of coffee, but you sit down at the table and you...
It's not really about the food itself.
No.
It's about the conversation and the time spent together. Like you say, it could be a sandwich or it could be spaghetti and meatballs and Italian meal.
Exactly. It's just being, sitting down and connecting. That's what makes life go around. Having people knock at your door and just walk in, and kids don't go around and knock on people's doors and say, is such and such home, can they play? Everything is very scheduled and very robotic almost today.
Almost, yeah, absolutely. Well, and here's a perfect example. Where I grew up, when people moved into the neighborhood, my mom would always take over, be it chocolate chip cookies, or she would make a pie or a cake or whatever, and welcome them to the neighborhood.
Right.
And we had some people move into our neighborhood, and they had little kids. And so I took some cookies down, And honestly, when I knocked on the door, the lady opened the door, and she kind of looked at me like,
who are you?
What are you doing? And I said, I just wanted to bring these down and introduce myself. I said, I saw your kids the other day when I was walking my dog, and they really enjoyed my dog, and I talked to them for a few minutes, and I said, I just really wanted to come down and introduce myself. Because we do live in a time, sometimes you don't even know your neighbors.
Absolutely. And if you do knock on their door for whatever reason, and it's different, you do get the reaction that you got, and it's sad. It really is sad, because I often tell my kids, well, they're grown up now, but I say, I wish I could do a time capsule and take you back to like 1974 or 1973 and just see what it was like. It was, there were hard times. I'm not saying it was perfect, but it just seemed like it was so much more fun.
Yeah, well, and so much more
So much more real.
real. Exactly.
Real. You know, you went down to the record store, or you went to the deli, or you went, you know, to the. It was just different. People
Very
connected,
different.
and you knew who your neighbors were, and the neighbors knew who you were, and I really appreciated that time. It seems almost like there was more trust between each
Yes.
other, and I.
Well, and you know, I spent some time this weekend. We were out at a few LRB shows, and some friends of ours who are in the education field came to be with us for the weekend from Chicago. And I said to them, did you see this article about analog clocks? And they said, no, we haven't seen it. And I said, school districts are taking analog clocks out of schools because kids don't know how to tell time. And one of them, who was a principal, she said, because we don't teach that in the curriculum anymore.
No, and they don't. No. Or cursive writing. They don't know how to write in script anymore. You know, which I think is
crazy.
Is an art. Or it was funny that you say that, and I'm sorry, I won't keep you long. But my son and I the other day were talking outside, and I used to be the what do you call it? The mom that, what do you call, the class mom. I'm sorry. An easy thing. The class mom. And then I also used to go up and do lunch duty. And I said, Michael, remember when I made the baskets, or you know, you make one, and the classes were large, you know, like 30 some odd kids, and I made the Halloween baskets with the candy and a cupcake, and every kid got, you know, a basket and all for Halloween, and I did the same for Easter and whatnot. He goes, Mom, you wouldn't be allowed to do that today.
No.
I said,
because of so many different reasons. One, there's all these allergies, and then two, you know, they're afraid people will put stuff in it, and you know, I don't know. I could get on a soapbox and talk about that for hours, because it truly breaks my heart.
It breaks my heart, because the kids were so excited when you bring it in, and they were so happy and whatnot. And I'm sorry we transgressed, but your book really will maybe bring people back to earth and see that it's okay to love who you are and become who you're meant to become, and embrace it and enjoy it. That's the thing. People have to enjoy who they are.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And look in the mirror and like who you are. You have to like who you are.
You really do. And I, you know, again, I just can't stress enough that a message that's near and dear to my heart is to just love the life that you live, because your own life is unique and special. Whether you realize it or not, it is. And that's just...
Well, I think people look and they think the grass is... I always told my kids growing up, you know, the grass, it might seem greener on the other side until you get there, you know, and then...
Yes.
And then you'll say, you know what? I didn't have it that bad, or this situation isn't that bad. You know, there's so many sayings that you have to enjoy who you are, love who you are, and not fret over it, you know.
Right, that's right.
But it was so nice meeting you, Rhonda. And
thank you so much. I really enjoyed this.
I enjoyed speaking with you, and I'm over here on Long Island, and if you ever come up this way, I'd be more than happy to host you and have a barbecue or something and meet you in person.
That would be wonderful. We have dear friends that live out in Greenport.
Oh, okay. It's beautiful out there. Absolutely beautiful.
Stunning. It's really, you know, for a Southern girl to go up to that area and spend time, I'm telling you, that is absolutely some of the most beautiful area up there. And not a bad wine country coming along.
Oh, no, you speak about all the different wineries you went to in your book and enjoy. And if you see on our site, we do wine reviews all the time on the site on Living the Gourmet, which is a lot of fun. A lot of fun, but Long Island is getting to be known for its wine, and it has been, so we have some great wineries out east.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
But I'm
Thank you
smack
so
in the
much.
middle of Long Island. I'm right in Amityville, so you
Oh, okay.
you can't, you have to pass it to get to wherever you're going out east.
That's great. That's wonderful.
So-
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. This has been a pleasure.
It has been a wonderful pleasure for me. Thank you, Rhonda, for coming and visiting with Living the Gourmet. Thank you.
Thanks, and you have a great Mother's Day, too.
Thank you, Rhonda. Thank you. Same to you, and I wish you all the best.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.